From the studios of Foxboro Cable Access, located in the center of Foxborough, Massachusetts, you are watching Around Foxborough.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Around Foxborough. I'm your guest host for tonight. My name is Mark Farinella, and for the purpose of introduction, for those of you who may not know me, I was a local sports writer for about 50 years or so. I lived in Foxborough for 12 years, and I now dabble in play-by-play announcing for local cable television. And the last game I did was the Division II Girls Basketball State Championship game. And that's why we're here tonight. We're here for a celebration of that amazing team and the amazing players and the coach on it. We are here with Coach Lisa Downs and 4 of her basketball players from that championship team. Look around here. We have Cam Collins, captain and guard, or forward, or whatever you do. Everything.
Anything, yeah.
Maddie Mayer. Sorry, Maddie, I almost did that. You are obviously a captain, a senior. Izzy Chamberlain, a forward, junior forward, came back for this year and really improved your game a lot. And Aaron Foley, a junior, who does just about everything out there on the court also. So welcome to the show tonight, and a special salute to the season. Everybody, how do you feel about getting this attention all of a sudden?
Doesn't feel real.
Yeah,
We were just saying how it feels like it didn't even feel like we won. Like it just felt like it came so quick, and yeah.
Well, for a point of information here, today these young ladies took a trip to Gillette Stadium and were given a tour by Patriots owner Robert Kraft of the championship trophy room and all those 6 Lombardi trophies sitting there. So I'm sure that was a lot of fun. I guess he told you a lot of fun stories. Lisa, you told me he told you about the time that Vladimir Putin stole his championship ring.
Yep, I did not know that story, and I don't think any of the girls had either, but I did Google it. It's true. But it was interesting, and he was very welcoming and very personable, and then we got to go out on the field and have some fun out there too.
Elisa likes to remind everybody at her banquets that we've known each other for a long time, a very long time. It's close to 40 years now, I believe. But I just have to point out, I show the wear and tear a lot more than she does. So, we want to make sure that. But yes, I did cover your exploits when you were Lisa Garland, and I was a much younger sports writer for the Sun Chronicle. And, I'll be talking with all of you a lot over the next few minutes. But first, I want to turn to your coach to start this celebration. Lisa, I don't have to go through much of your biography because people in town know you, they've known you for years. But just given the subject matter tonight, I'll mention that this was your 12th season at the helm of the Warriors, and you'd already won state championships in 2018 and 2020, although the latter one was shared with Taconic Regional High School of Pittsfield because the state title game that was supposed to be played that year was canceled by COVID-19. Now, the last 2 years have kind of been transitional ones for the team, from that team to this one. First, you had the shortened season of 2021, which was a 14, and that was only 11 games that year. Mm-hmm. And then you had the 14-8 campaign in 2022, and you had to work a lot of the youngsters into the lineup during that season. So coming into this year, you obviously knew you had a lot of talented players back, but in your wildest dreams, did you ever think that you'd be holding this trophy that's sitting right next to us above your head at the end of the season?
I mean, of course I was hopeful, but I didn't really see it really coming to, to become a real possibility until probably January, when I could start seeing all the roles being filled and people really stepping into their expectations and just knowing what they needed to do in order for us to be successful. And I think after we lost to Wachusett, that was kind of a wake-up day for us, because I think we all realized we could have won that game had we played to our best ability, and we did not. But it made us realize we were really good. And if we put all the things together that we needed to, then good things were going to happen. And they know how superstitious I am, so I would never, ever say it out loud. But I did think
coach would.
Yeah. But I honestly did think that it was a good possibility that we could end up holding that at the end.
Let's go around the table on this one. I'll start with you, Cam. You had a very strong sophomore year last year. You averaged 12.9 points a game. But So what I want to ask you is, did you set any goals for yourself, any personal goals, or did you have any team goals in mind as you entered your junior year this year?
I think individually it was more just working on my game in the off season in AAU and by myself. And I think as a team we all had a good chemistry, so it was more of just executing and having fun with each other at the same time, especially. And I think we did a good job of that. We can all say at the end of the season, but yeah, I think we have a really close bonded team, and I think that showed out when we played and when we practiced.
The reason why I asked you that is because you had one of the most consistent seasons I've ever seen in all close to 50 years that I've covered high school sports. I mean, you often see players, they will get 8 points a game, 7, 8, 9, like that. You can count on them for something. But for you, it was 17 points a game. And every day you went out there, you hardly deviated from that at all. You hardly went over 2 baskets high, 2 baskets low, or anything like that. You could always be counted on for that 17-point average. And you played great defense, absolutely great defense. You were always facing the best team, the best player on the other team. Your leadership out there was spectacular. You got the captain's role as a junior. Is that important to you that you did, and that showed in your leadership out there?
I think so, yeah. I think we had a young team, so I think my experience was not as great as the other players, but might have been in the past, but I think I had what it took because I had been around. My sister played on the team, so I think I used that as a bit of a leadership, and I like all the girls on the team, so it was pretty easy to be able to step up to that role.
Aaron, you played as a freshman as well, and as a sophomore, although your freshman team was limited to 11 games that year, which was really kind of unfortunate. There were a couple of schools around here that managed to squeak a few out, but they were a little stricter about it in Foxborough. But with that experience behind you of those 2 seasons, what did you bring from that into your 3rd season? Because I know your role changed a little bit this year. Not as much of a scorer, great defender, and you distribute well.
So I feel like the COVID year, obviously we didn't have any experience at all. I mean, not a good one at least. And then bringing up to the sophomore year, we slowly got back into things, and it was sort of a rebuilding year for us, I feel like. And then my junior year this year, it just all got put together, and my role definitely changed because there are players out there on the court like Cam, Kaylee, and Addie where Izzy and I can just dish the balls out. We can just work on our defense and make sure that they get the job done because we can rely on them as such great players they are, and they always manage to. So.
Izzy, I had the pleasure of announcing a game last season, which was sort of a breakthrough for you. It was against Stoughton, where you got your career high of 10 points. Now, not everyone ends up being a big scorer as the careers go along, but you really committed yourself to working hard on the boards, and that made you extremely valuable, especially at the end of the season where I think you were very dynamic out there, grabbing rebounds and getting the ball out and starting the break.
Yeah, after my sophomore season, I knew that I needed to get a lot physically stronger and just physically stronger on the boards and just physically stronger in the game as well. And everyone on our team has different roles, and I'm not going to be the best scorer, and I know that because we have such great scorers on our team, but when we all execute our roles, that's what makes us such a successful team. So
Maddie, I come to you with a very special question. And I'm sure you looked around you and you saw that the talent out there might limit your minutes a little bit. But being a captain is more than minutes or points or rebounds. And I want you to tell me how important it was for you to be the captain and what you brought to that role.
Well, being only one of 2 seniors, we knew we were going to have a very young team. And because of this, I knew it was crucial for me to step up into that leadership role and to be a role model. And because of the, because our team is so young, I know it can be a little intimidating coming up to a group of us because we're already so close-knit. But I showed my leadership by displaying good sportsmanship and showing a sense of respect for the game and our opponents.
Also a pretty good sense of humor, I understand.
Oh, that's for sure.
I hope so.
Which always helps to break the tension sometimes.
Yeah.
Lisa, let's get back to the season a little bit. You, entering the season, you stopped Franklin's 44-game league winning streak, which was one of the first impressive accomplishments.
Yep.
And then you beat Oliver Ames twice. They were your nemesis last year because they knocked you out of the tournament as well. You finished the league season at 16-0. You won the Warrior Classic with a great comeback against Brookline, a game that I was fortunate enough to do for Foxboro Cable Access. and they were a Division I power. In fact, as you mentioned before, your only loss was to another good Division I team, Wachusett. When did you start to think, though, that a run at the state title might be possible? Was there a moment that kind of, there we are, we're going to do it?
I mean, I think, as I mentioned, every one of those things you mentioned was something that, and I had always talked to the girls about checking off boxes. So the first one was Franklin, the second was knocking off Oliver Ames twice. And then, you know, winning the Warrior Classic and the Davenport were some key ones too. But honestly, until we played Brookline, I saw the potential out there, and that's probably as close as we got to a perfect game up until that point, because the Hawkmock League games weren't always challenging night after night. So trying to keep their intensity was somehow it's, you know, it's not always easy for them as well. So, but again, up until that Brookline game, we had dips and valleys of, you know, our talent would be going up, and then we'd play a game, but Brookline was almost a perfect game, and we were, you know, peaking at the right time. And I said, I always try to get good opponents in the Warrior Classic because it's, you know, leading into the big games. And
I don't know how perfect you thought it was when they battled back to a tie.
Oh yeah, that was, well, that first half was as perfect as you can get.
Yes. And then the recovery as well.
And that's the thing, because we are so young, like Maddie mentioned, and a younger team, you know, seeing your 20-point lead get, you know, evaporate in front of your eyes, they could have, you know, mailed it in, and they didn't. And they they buckled up and they tried even harder, and obviously we came out on top. But for them to not just fade off it, realizing that this great powerhouse team came back from a 20-point deficit, and then, you know, we're looking at heading home with a big loss. They didn't want any part of that, and I was very proud of them that day.
Maddie, do you remember any moment during the regular season that maybe it was a moment of chemistry that you saw out there, or something that you just told you that, you know, maybe this season's going to be a little bit more than we thought it would be?
Well, I will say our win over Franklin was huge. That's when I could tell everything was starting to click. But also overall, the whole season, there was no like drama or anything. All of us genuinely loved each other, and we were there for each other.
Izzy, how about you? Do you feel any moment that kind of registered with you a little bit?
Like Maddie said, just our team chemistry. I think we all genuinely enjoyed being at practice and being around each other. So I think it was just that like we loved being around each other. So.
Aaron?
I think it was the first Oliver Ames game, because we knew how hard it was. Like me, Kim, Izzy, Maddie, all of us played last year, so we knew how hard it was losing to them in the tournament, and just the worst feeling. And then going out there, being up 19-0 in the first quarter with 3 minutes left to play, it was just awesome. And I think that was the start of the fire under our butt to get us going.
Yeah.
Cam, I remember so many moments that I saw either in person or on Foxboro Cable Access replays of the games, where you would pick a quarter and you would just go nuts out there, and you would just completely just pick the team up, put them on your shoulders, and take them either the rest of the way or as far as you could. Brookline game was one of those. You had a great fourth quarter in that game. Do you remember any other moment to you that kind of gave you that feeling that, yes, we are heading in the right direction?
I think there was many moments. I think even from the beginning of before the season started in the summer, and we would come to the summer league games at Mass Premier at night, and nobody really wants to spend their nights at Mass Premier on their summer nights, but we all got there and we played hard, and even when we came out with a loss, we would, we had something special going, so that was something to be proud of before we even started the season.
Yeah.
Now, I always track the seeding, and when they start announcing them, the MIAA starts announcing where you guys are seated, and we all know there's a new system in place, and a lot of that has to do with the opponents you face and all that. And for a long time, you guys were number 7 in Division II, and I think a lot of people thought you were undervalued. You got a little help towards the end of the season from Mansfield and Oliver Ames, because they went on winning streaks. Their success built your ratings points a little bit, and that got you guys up to number 5 at the end of the season. Lisa, did it bother you to not be a number 2 or number 3? If it had been the old system, you might have even been the top seed.
Right. Honestly, yes, because I'm just that competitive side of me. I did understand it as much as I wasn't thrilled to see that number. But yes, I knew with our record being what it was, and we weren't just winning by a little bit. Most games we were winning by a lot. I thought that we should have been higher up there. But everything happens for a reason. And so I think we were meant to be in that 5 seed, and then we were meant to be playing where we ended up playing.
So many teams like to use that "nobody respects us" thing. Did you ever use that in this
I think
season?
I did, yes. The Boston Herald chose us to lose to
Yes,
Drake
yes,
in
they
that
did.
championship game, so I did use that.
They also picked Mansfield to beat Malden Catholic, so they were 0 for 2
Yeah.
on those.
Yeah.
Of course, you get into the tournament, you win big here at home against Holliston, South High of Worcester, and Chicopee in the first 3 rounds. But before I go any further, there's something very important I need to know, and somebody here has got to tell me the real story behind the pink suit. The pink suit.
Erin.
Okay, so throughout the season, Isabel and I had this ongoing, kind of competition where we would guess to see what suit Coach Lisa would be wearing, and it would be like the pattern stripe, the regular blue one. And she went through like a routine. She would have 4 or 5 suits, and that was it. And she would just keep rotating through because she's very superstitious, and she'll wear them depending on the games. And I was like, she needs some color. She needs a bright suit. And so I brought it up to the girls, and I was like, why don't we all pitch in and just get her a suit? And then we're seeing the LSU coach out there.
I thought
Yep.
I
So
was
it's not
hoping
me. It's not mainly about her, but
Okay.
it was just some inspiration, and seeing her in a hot pink suit, and everyone wants that, right? No.
And I will say, we saw your tweet. Coach Mulkey's suit is
Yeah.
in the cart, is in our Amazon
Yeah.
cart.
I was wondering about that. You've got to let me know when she's going to have to wear that, because I want to be there for that one. Well, you know what? That's one of the great things about chemistry on this team. That I think that when I saw that and I heard that was kind of the whole idea, and then when I found out that you guys pitched in for it, I was like, that's a special team out there. People don't do that too often for them.
And I would never ever wear that for anyone but these girls. So yes, that's how
But
special
you
they
wore it
are.
at the banquet, though.
Because they're special. I love
Yes,
these
they
kids.
are. Yes,
Yeah.
they are. Before we go any farther, also, I just want to note that this team got some very outstanding contributions from a few people who aren't here tonight. We certainly are part of the team, but there are some great people on the team as well. Sophomore guard Kaylee Sullivan, she averaged 22.7 points over those 3 games in the tournament before the championship game. And of course, sophomore center Addie Reuter, her career high of 31 in the game against Worcester South. So, and as I've said many times before, and we'll come back to this in a few minutes, that all of you are back next year, which is something that's really going to be fun, except Maddie, I'm sorry.
Sorry, yeah. She'll be there in
Maddie will
spirit.
be there in spirit.
Yes.
I really believe that. So everything's going really well. You're on a roll. You're coming up to close to the end of the tournament here, but then it's on to Bridgewater Raynham and the showdown with number 1 Walpole. And let me tell you, 40 years of covering high school basketball in this area, it always seems to come down to Foxborough versus Walpole somehow, especially when the teams were both in Division II. They just meet like this. They met in the 1980s a lot. They met afterwards in times like that. And it always seems to come down to a game against Walpole at the most dramatic time possible. Lisa, I think your team was as well prepared as that could be for the physicality that Walpole was going to bring to that game. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
We had scrimmaged them earlier in the season, so we knew pretty much what to expect and what we needed to do in order to prepare for that game. And I did feel, like you said, I felt as though we were as ready as we could possibly be for what they were going to be throwing at us, what we needed to do to defend against their scorers, their rebounders, their speed and whatnot. But I put people into certain spots defensively where they could do the best to benefit us, and then offensively we just gained confidence as the game went on, and what they did to distribute the ball to each other, and they just gained momentum that way. And basketball is a game of runs, and we just got some good runs that were started by some good hustle plays.
I was at Worcester State at the time, and I was actually peeking at my phone every now and then to try to get the score on that, because I was doing the Mansfield boys game against Neshoba. And every now and then I would see it was close, and then I would look back and I said, "Ooh, it's opening up here." And so who was on Brooke Willonis? Who had to deal with her throughout the game? Was that Cam?
Yeah, that was me, yeah.
She's tough. She's a tough player and rugged. She doesn't take any nonsense from anybody, and she sometimes dishes a little bit of it out. That was a challenge. And how do you feel you handle it?
I think I handled it well, but like alongside with all my other teammates, because first off, we do a lot of scouting, so I didn't really feel like I was unprepared going to that game. And also, like Coach said, we scrimmaged them, so we kind of knew what to expect. But I think it, came down to us like really bucking down on like what we were good at, which is defense. And yeah, I'm proud of us.
Oh, I was too. I was so happy to see that final, because the final actually came up before I really had to get into doing the game that I was doing, because we had a later start.
Right.
And I didn't even announce it to the Mansfield folks live. Did they let us go live? I'm not sure. They might not, but I did announce it to them because I know there's a great interest among all of these towns around here where the team starts to get high. And here we are. We're about now to take the next step up, which was going to the Tsongas Center and playing Drake-it. They had knocked off. I had actually seen their game against Medfield, and I was a little shocked that they did, because to me it looked like neither team really wanted to win that game.
Yeah.
Towards the end of it, Medfield couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with a shot, and Drake-it would go down the court, and instead of trying to take time off the clock, they just wing up another three, which was something that they did a lot of in your game too. But Lisa, you came up to the broadcast booth just before the game started, and you howdied with us. And I gotta admit, you look the most calm and confident that I've ever seen you before a game, because I know you. You're very intense. You feel if you could be playing a team that has no wins or a team that has 20 wins, and you still have that intensity. But you looked kind of serene in that. And it tells me that you felt the team was prepared, and you had to be prepared. Because, Drake had Ashley Talbot, a girl that could throw 45 points into the basket at any given moment. So what was the goal, and how did they accomplish it?
Well, honestly, not that I wanted to ever let them know that I was looking beyond Walpole, but I was really thinking whoever won our game against Walpole would be playing Medfield. So I had spent a lot of time preparing for Medfield, having spent none for Drake-it. So it came to a lot of hours of watching tons and tons of film. Which the girls know I love to do, doing a lot of prep work for them and condensed it into a short amount of time. So we really had a small amount of practices in order to prepare, but we knew what we needed to do, and it was all things that were already in our toolbox. So we just needed to really focus on their scorers and really limit the girls that would also score. So we knew Talbot's going to get her points.
Yeah.
Much to Erin's chagrin, Erin likes to keep people to single digits when she's guarding them, but she did her job. And so what she did was made, she allowed 3-point shots that sometimes were 6 feet beyond the arc, which is fine.
I noticed that you kept forcing her out farther and farther, which, she can hit the long shot, but that's not a very high percentage shot.
And what we did in the other girls is really made it difficult for them to be any really person that would help benefit them on the offensive end. So what we did on defense against the other 4 players in the court whenever Ashley was out there definitely paved the way for the victory.
You and I are kindred spirits when it comes down to film study. Me for a different reason, because I have to know these kids that I'm talking about. A lot of cable systems, you're like, well, that's number 33 out there. I want to make sure I know who the opponents are. So I had my Medfield games all lined up to watch, and then I'm there, and Drake-it wins, and I said, well, I better go start searching Drake-it. Fortunately, I talked to the cable guys who do cable for Drake-it, and they told me where all their games were, so easy for me to watch them, and you and I probably watched the same games.
Right.
Let's throw this out to the table. We'll start again with Cam. Cam, did you see, you had foul trouble in that game, but again, you had one of those incredible quarters. You came out in the third quarter, and you really picked things up for the team. So was there any moment in that game that really stands out to you as something that said, yeah, we're going to win this game?
I think we always had not like a proud kind of energy coming to the game, but one that we just wanted to win, and we didn't want to accept anything other than a win. So I think we came into it just wanted to play hard, and we knew they were going to be tough. And the third quarter, Coach always says, is the most important quarter. So when we came out in the third quarter, we knew we had to put it away before they started to come back. So I think that's what we did.
Erin, you had your hands full, with your responsibilities out there. Was there a moment that came up to you and said, yeah, this is clicking, I'm doing what we're supposed to be doing here?
Yeah, so definitely. I think for the team, I'm not sure what quarter it was, but when Ava Hill got subbed in and she hit her three-pointer and then took it to the basket for a two-pointer, that was the change in the game, and that's when I knew we were going to win. Even like I wasn't scoring that, I didn't score that much, but I was playing defense on Ashley, and she's a great player, like she can shoot, but we all did our jobs and we finished. I mean, we got the job
Well,
done.
seriously, there were about 2 or 3 other kids in that team that could shoot,
Yeah.
and could shoot from outside, but they were never getting the opportunity to shoot.
Right.
You know, and I think there was one girl, and I'm struggling at her name right now. I think it was number 10, maybe. I think she was an outside shooter as well, and she, you know, they never went to her. She was a kid who got 15 in a game if you didn't pay attention to her, and you know, I think Talbot at some point in the game decided, you know, I got to do everything I can to win this game. Understandable reason, but didn't work for her. Izzy, you've been a monster on the boards over those last couple of weeks, and again, I saw you getting a lot of rebounds in this game because they would pay a lot of attention to Addie as much as they could because everybody's going to pay attention to the 6'3" kid. But you got a lot of good rebounds and you got breaks started. Anything that stands out to you in this game?
I think that like obviously I have a lot of trust in my teammates, but I don't think we were ever fully comfortable in the game because we just took it like play after play, like coach says like next play, and then like I wasn't really comfortable until like the final minutes. I was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna win. So.
Maddie, you have a different vantage point often, but you can get the feel of the team and the you can kind of get the temperature of the team. Are we running hot? Are we running cold? Are we into this game and all that? Tell me what you felt during this game.
Yeah, I don't think we doubted it for a second. It was our last game regardless, you win or not, and we weren't going home losing. Even our pregame, like coach is very superstitious and it's rubbed off on all of us, and it felt right.
I think it felt right also. I mean, just from the first quarter, you guys got out to a pretty good lead. They fought back a little bit, but I had a good feeling. You know, the final score was 73-53. For the second time in your head coaching career, Lisa, your team was the last one standing when all was said and done, and that probably would have been the case in 2020 as well. I saw some film on Taconic. I think they're in Division 5 now. They wouldn't even. Right. They should have even been there probably, but nothing against them. But how satisfying a feeling is now you participated in all 4 Foxborough state championships as an assistant coach in the first one, and certainly these 3 under your watch. When you're the last team standing, how does it feel?
It's actually surreal because you're most likely going to end your season with a loss. You're going to leave your game either feeling not satisfied or just sad that it's over in general. And so to have that, be able to walk off with a team of kids that you've spent countless hours with, though, that's the sad part to me. Like, it's great to hold that trophy up, and nothing's better, don't get me wrong, than having this. But then that realization that you're not going to have that same 2 hours every day. It's almost a crushing feeling the practice after that you normally would have been practicing, and there's no practice to go to anymore. And I think that's like the weird, the limbo stage that you go to. But to reflect, I've been putting my scrapbook together, and so we've been reflecting a lot on the season, and so many great memories, and they weren't all game related or practice related. A lot of the things, just personalities that I got to
I've noticed
be around.
You called these kids my silly girls.
They are.
And that's almost politically incorrect these days.
Yeah, and
but,
I don't care.
I love that though.
They actually called themselves that. They made me an Instagram account. They called themselves my silly girls, and
Coach Down's 30.
That's right.
But yeah, so they're just a remarkable group of young ladies. So
yes, they are. And now here's a very important question now as we look ahead a little bit. You say, it's sad when you know that you're not going to be working with these kids every day, but you're going to be working with them again because I think you have your top 8 players back. And you've got players like Ava Hill, who contributed a lot in those last game, Kylie Sampson, help me out on
Adriana Perazzo.
I was the old hard drive works slowly sometimes. But you've got these kids coming back. Now, to me, that can be both blessing and curse a little bit though, because you are going to have a solid starting 5 right off the bat. All with hoping that all is well and nobody stubs their toe in the off season and all that. But the whole idea is that that there are kids on the team that have worked hard, and would like to get different roles or maybe a little bit more, but because you've got a solid 5 starters, they may have to be satisfied with their roles. Maybe you can work these things. I mean, I know these are tough questions for a coach to deal with, but that's why they pay you the big bucks, Lisa. So tell me how you're looking ahead at trying to work with a team that's going to be back almost intact. You'll have a few kids coming up, I'm sure, but you have as solid of a foundation as anybody could.
Right. And I think, I mean, that's a luxury I'm willing to take. So, so I think with the younger girls, it's going to be more important for them to work in the off season, and then to show me that they are able to step into. When I didn't give Cam and Erin many minutes to sit on the bench at all this season, unless they were in foul trouble. But so I think it will be nice to be able to put some girls in feeling confident with what they're going to do when they step on the court, and those minutes of gaining game situation time is going to be important for when I don't have these young ladies anymore. So I think when Cam and Erin were freshmen, they weren't starting, but they got some really important minutes when I had to sub those starters out, and that's where they learned, and that's where they were able to take that next step the following year into a much bigger role.
I have a feeling that by this time next year, you are going to be inconsolable losing this group of kids, because they, like you said, they are very special. And I'll turn to the players again. Any moments that stand out to you, to all of you, because it doesn't have to be in a game. It can be at practice. It could be something funny that happened or whatever. But I just like to get that feel about the great chemistry that your team had. Cam, let's start with you again.
This was like a practice moment, but this is when I really knew that we had some good bonding, because we had a brunch before one of our practices, and we decided that we were gonna prank Coach Downs and hide in the supply closet before she came in, and then we jumped out and scared her, and we also scared one of our teammates because she didn't know we were in there. So.
Oh my goodness!
And when she says hide in the supply closet, it wasn't at ground level. They had climbed up into the beams inside the supply closet.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
So everybody was down to do that. So that's how I knew it was good team chemistry.
That's pretty good. Maddie, how about you?
I will say we were more obsessed with our coach than she probably was with us. I swear, anytime we were hanging out, whether we were at Chipotle after a game or something, it was always, how can we get back at her as a prank? So we went to her house one night. She didn't know we weren't invited, and we just started taking pictures in front of it. Which I know no other team was doing that. So.
Erin, how about you?
I think it was just the funny, random pranks that we always do. And even to Coach Brown, it started off at tryouts with us taking B-reels of them. So it's a picture that takes a picture of the front and back camera at the same time, and we would give it to Coach and Coach Brown, and that started the whole season of pranks. Because, I don't know.
They were full of them.
Obviously the team chemistry, and like Kim said, the pranks. We also hid in a dark hallway and pranked her as well, and that was probably my favorite one. So.
Now you should know where all these hiding places
but
are.
I've never
you
had
went to
this
Foxborough High
done
School.
to me before, and I would never have done these things. But and then they'll send me texts from different bonding things that they're doing. So it's just nice for me as a coach to see all right, I've done my job on the court, but they've really come together on their own off the court. And so they'll be in Boston or at some restaurant or whatever, and they'll send me a picture of themselves or send me a text or whatever. And it's a feel-good thing for a coach.
Well, we're about at the end of our session here, and I've had a great time doing this, because you've confirmed my suspicions that you're all a bunch of fun-loving people who not just enjoy the basketball, but enjoy working together, working with your coach, and enjoying the fun parts of it too, which I don't think when I was young I had that many opportunities to prank our coach. I think he would have taken my head off if I had done that. But it's just so great, because everybody who followed you, they enjoy your success, but maybe they don't know you as well. I mean, you're in the town. A lot of people, I'm sure, know you, but as we have this opportunity to kind of show this side of you, I think people have even more love for you coming down the path. So I'm just happy that I had the opportunity to talk to this very, very wonderful group of girls and Coach Lisa Downs. You have represented the town of Foxborough and our whole area with great pride and great dignity. And I just loved being a tiny little part of it by doing some of your games. And again, I'm looking forward to seeing you all again next year. And that'll be it for today's episode of Around Foxborough. I almost said Inside Foxborough. I don't know why I do that. And I just want to thank everybody here at Foxboro Cable Access for giving me the opportunity to do this. I want to thank Coach Lisa Downs, Cam Collins, Maddie Mayer, Aaron Foley, Izzy Chamberlain. Thanks again for viewing this. Thanks for watching, and good evening, everyone.